Preston Carter walked into the most private diamond gala in New York City. He had a young mistress on his arm. He wore a proud smile like he owned the room. He left his pregnant wife at home. He insulted her body. He told her to clean the house. He told her not to wait for him. He believed the invitation in his pocket was good luck. He did not know it was a trap. Preston did not know where his power came from. He did not know where his money came from. He did not know where his company came from. He did not know the woman he ignored was the real source of everything. The wife he called nothing was the person who held his whole world. She owned the hotel where the gala was happening. She owned the bank that held his home loan. She owned his company through many hidden businesses. Tonight she planned to step into the light. Tonight she planned to end his false kingdom. This is not only a revenge story. After the gala, the real fear began. People turned the story against her. A lawyer tried to come for her baby. In the dark hours of the night, Preston came to her door. This story changes how you see silence and strength. The most dangerous person is not always loud. Sometimes the most dangerous person is quiet for years. Then one day, she stops pretending. The real meaning is not money. The real meaning is not revenge. The real meaning is a woman who was told she was worthless every day. She believed it for years. Then she chose to stop believing it. If you have stayed too long with someone who made you feel unseen, if you have feared leaving because you thought you had nothing, this story is for you. Silence is not weakness. Patience is not stupidity. A comeback does not need a fortune. A comeback needs one decision. At the gala, Preston walked with Tiffany Blake. Tiffany was young and proud and hungry for attention. She wore a tight red dress that looked expensive from far away. Preston whispered to her that this was where legends were made. He told her to stay close. He told her to act rich. Tiffany pointed at famous faces and squealed with excitement. Preston loved the feeling. He loved being seen. Preston believed he was untouchable. He believed he rose from nothing by his own will. He believed the world finally recognized him. He was wrong. The invitation was not a reward. It was a leash. The woman he left at home was named Vivian. Preston thought she was a simple housewife. He spent years training her to feel small. He spent years making her doubt herself. But Vivian was not small. Vivian was the owner. She had money beyond anything Preston imagined. She had teams of experts and lawyers and investigators. She had the patience to build a perfect case. She was done pretending. To understand Vivian, you must go back years. You must go back to a diner in Ohio. Vivian sat alone after her father's funeral. Her father, Henry Sinclair, was known as a mechanic. He was kind and honest and skilled. He raised Vivian after her mother died. The town saw grease and hard work. The town did not see the hidden truth. Henry had invented a key part for engines long ago. He had patented it quietly. He had licensed it widely. His invention was used across the world. When he died, he left Vivian a vast fortune. It was managed through a holding group called Aurora. Aurora was guided by Benedict Ashford. Benedict ran a powerful private bank in London. The day after the funeral, Vivian got a call. It was from a lawyer linked to her former fiancé. That man had stolen money from her and disappeared. Now his lawyer tried to pressure her into silence. Vivian ended the call without a word. She looked at her reflection in the window. She saw a woman tired of being used. She felt the weight of money turning love into a deal. She called Benedict. She told him she wanted to disappear. She wanted a new life. She wanted to know if real love existed. Benedict asked who would be born in her place. Vivian said a nobody, just a regular woman. Someone a man could love without chasing her fortune. Vivian also called her grandmother Gloria. Gloria was sharp and strong and honest. Vivian told her she wanted to live like a normal person. She wanted to test love. Gloria gave her one rule. Do not watch how a man treats you when you shine. Watch how he treats you when you struggle. That is the only test that matters. Vivian moved to Connecticut. She rented a small place. She worked as a waitress. She dressed simply. She drove an old car with a dent. She kept her real business life hidden through secure tools. She met Preston during that time. Preston was charming at first. He listened closely. He opened doors. He remembered small details. On an early date, they passed a woman who dropped groceries. Cans rolled into the street. Preston ran to help. He picked up every item. He carried the bags. He refused a small reward. He came back with a shy smile. He said he could not walk past. Vivian fell in love in that moment. She fell in love because kindness looked natural on him. She believed that was who he was. They married after some time. Vivian told Preston she had a small inheritance. She said it was enough for a home down payment. In truth, she bought the home through hidden ownership. She built a false loan so Preston believed he was paying it. Preston started a venture firm called Carter Ventures. He called it his proof that he mattered. Vivian quietly fed the firm money through layered companies. She did not do it to trap him. She did it to support him. She wanted him to feel confident. She wanted him to feel successful. She did not expect success to turn him cruel. The change was slow. Abuse is not always loud at first. It could be like water against stone. At the start, Preston brought flowers. He cooked dinner. He spoke sweet words. Then small comments began. He judged her clothes. He judged her body. He suggested she was soft. Vivian adjusted herself and told herself it was normal. Later, the comments became constant. Please and thank you vanished. The kindness dried up. Preston began to act like the home was his. He acted like the car was his. He said Vivian did not contribute. He said he was the builder and the visionary. He said she should be grateful he kept her. Then the cruelty became a habit. He came home late with the scent of perfume that was not hers. If she asked where he was, he looked at her with cold contempt. He told her to make food. He spoke to her like she existed only to serve. Vivian could have ended it at any time. She could have used her power. She could have removed him quickly. But she kept hope. She kept waiting for the kind man to return. She gave chance after chance. Staying did not mean she was weak. Staying took strength. But it was the wrong kind of strength. It turned inward and crushed her. In the 5th year, Preston hired Tiffany as his assistant. Tiffany was ambitious and flattering. Soon she was more than an assistant. Preston met her in hotels while he lied to Vivian. Vivian knew. She saw the records. She saw the spending. She saw gifts and hotel charges. She saw lies written in numbers. Her heart broke so slowly that one day she felt only quiet. Then Vivian learned she was pregnant. She tried to share the news with care. She cooked his favorite meal. She placed an ultrasound picture beside his plate. For a moment, Preston looked soft. Vivian said they were having a daughter. Then Preston turned cruel again. He made a bitter joke about her future. He did not touch her belly. He did not speak of the baby for weeks. That night, Vivian made a different choice. She stopped hoping. She started planning. She called Benedict. She asked about the Diamond Gala date. She ordered an invitation for Preston. She wanted a front table. She moved a major board presentation to that night. She demanded a full audit and a full legal team. She said her daughter would not be born into a lie. Thanksgiving came before the gala. Vivian cooked all day while pregnant and tired. She set candles and good dishes. She wore a nice maternity dress. Preston came home late. He said he already ate at a fine restaurant. He called her food common. He told her to throw it away. He walked upstairs without a glance at her belly. Vivian ate alone and cried into the meal she made with love. She called her best friend Ruth. Ruth told her to leave. Ruth reminded her that money gave her freedom. Vivian said it was not about money. She wanted the love to be real. Ruth said the test was over. Ruth said he failed. Vivian promised it would end after the gala. Ruth said she would burn his life down herself if he hurt Vivian or the baby. 1 week before the gala, Vivian went to a prenatal visit alone. Her doctor noticed stress. The doctor asked if home was safe. Vivian almost told the truth. But silence was a habit now. She said it was hormones. She walked outside and saw Preston nearby. He was at a restaurant with Tiffany. Vivian watched through the window. Preston fed Tiffany dessert. He touched Tiffany's belly with tender care. Vivian stood in the rain shaking. He had never touched her belly. Not once. She called Gloria and whispered that Tiffany was pregnant. Gloria told her to go to the gala. Gloria told her to burn his castle down. Gloria told her to wear the blue dress and show him what he threw away. The night before the gala, Preston came home late and drunk. Vivian was in bed supported by pillows because lying flat was hard now. She was reading a baby name book. She had circled the name Eleanor. Preston stood in the doorway and stared at her. His face showed open disgust. He said she looked like a whale. He said he could not even look at her. Vivian reminded him she was carrying his daughter. Preston asked if the baby was even his. The cruelty was sharp and cold. The man who cheated accused her of betrayal. He sat on the bed and said they needed to talk about the future after the baby was born. He hinted that he wanted a different life. He said changes were coming. Vivian asked where she would go. She said she had nothing. Preston smiled in the dark and said maybe she should be more grateful. He fell asleep quickly. Vivian stayed awake until morning. She placed her hand on her belly and whispered that tomorrow she would stop pretending. The morning of the gala began before sunrise. Vivian woke early. Her phone rang. Benedict was on the line. He said there was a problem. A board member had leaked information to a financial reporter. The reporter knew the owner of Aurora would appear that night. If the story broke early, Preston might run or destroy evidence. Before Vivian could answer, another call came. It was Ruth. Ruth had seen Tiffany at a salon. Tiffany was bragging that Preston planned to file for divorce. His lawyer told him Vivian would get nothing because she had no income. They believed she was poor. They believed she had no power. A third call came from Vivian's lawyer. A large home loan had been taken against the house. The signature looked like hers, but it was false. Preston had forged her name. The money was used to buy a new apartment for Tiffany. 3 disasters in less than an hour. Vivian sat on the bed while Preston showered and sang happily. He had no idea the woman in the next room owned everything around him. Vivian called Benedict again. She told him to stop the media leak. Pay for silence if needed. The story must not run before she spoke on stage. She told him to add the forged signature to the legal file. She called Ruth and asked her to attend the gala. Not as a guest of power, but as a friend. Ruth agreed without question. Preston came out of the bathroom dressed in his fine tuxedo. He looked at himself in the mirror and practiced his smile. He asked where his cufflinks were. Vivian told him calmly. He said he would be late and told her not to wait up. He complained about dust in the library. Then he left without saying goodbye. The door slammed. Vivian stood in silence. Then she untied her apron and let it fall. She walked to a locked room at the end of the hall. Preston thought it was storage. She entered a code and opened the door. Inside was a command center. Screens showed financial data. Files lined the wall. In the middle hung a midnight blue gown covered in crushed diamonds. The fabric flowed to fit her pregnant body. It did not hide her shape. It honored it. Next to the dress was a jewelry case. Inside rested the Sinclair blue, a sapphire necklace passed down through her family. It was priceless not only in money, but in history. Her father once told her to wear it when she was done being small. Vivian touched the stone and said she was done. Ruth arrived in the afternoon. She brought a makeup kit and sparkling cider. She helped Vivian with her hair. When Vivian showed her the necklace, Ruth stared in shock. They laughed together. For the first time in weeks, Vivian laughed from deep inside. Vivian called Gloria and showed her the dress through video. Gloria grew quiet with pride. She said Vivian's father will be proud. She told her to walk like a queen. While Vivian prepared, Preston arrived at the Archdale Hotel in Manhattan with Tiffany. He believed the table near the front meant he was powerful. He moved through the ballroom, seeking attention. He spoke loudly to important people. He mocked Aurora as a ghost company. He joked that the owner was likely an old man hiding overseas. A wealthy man warned him to be careful. Aurora owned the hotel. Aurora owned banks. Preston laughed and dismissed it. He said companies without faces had no power. He mocked his wife as simple and unfit for such rooms. He called her a mouse. He said he needed a lioness. Tiffany giggled. At 8, the lights dimmed. The crowd quieted. A spotlight lit the grand staircase. The host announced that the owner of Aurora would step into the light. Preston joked again that it would be an old lady. Then the name was spoken. Madame Vivian Sinclair. The glass slipped from Preston's hand and shattered. The doors opened. Vivian stood at the top of the stairs. Her blue gown shimmered like night sky. The diamonds caught the light. The sapphire blazed at her throat. She was visibly pregnant and completely commanding. She walked down slowly. The room parted for her. People bowed their heads slightly. Benedict walked at her side. A forensic accountant stood nearby with documents. Vivian stopped in front of Preston. She smiled, but it was not a gentle smile. She took the microphone. She apologized for being late and said she had garbage to take out first. The room laughed softly. She spoke clearly. For 5 years, she had conducted a social experiment. She wanted to know if a man could love a woman without knowing her wealth. She hid her identity. She let her husband believe he was the provider. A screen behind her lit up. A chart showed Aurora at the top. Under were many shell companies. At the bottom was Carter Ventures. She explained that every dollar in his firm came from her. She was the only investor, the only client, the only source. Preston shouted that she was lying. She pressed another button. Bank records appeared. Deals he bragged about were funded by her companies. Meetings he thought were important were staged. The screen showed hotel bills and jewelry purchases hidden as business costs. It showed pictures of Preston and Tiffany on trips labeled as work. Laughter spread through the room. The accountant stepped forward with the forged loan papers. He explained the crime calmly. He pointed to the necklace on Tiffany's neck and said it was bought with charity funds. Tiffany panicked and tore it off. Then came the final truth. Preston had changed his name years earlier. He once worked at a rental agency and was fired for misconduct. His entire image was built on lies. Agents entered the room. They arrested him for fraud and theft. Preston screamed that he loved Vivian in his own way. Vivian removed the sapphire from her neck and held it up. She said he loved what he saw reflected in her money. Now the mirror was broken. The doors closed behind him. The room burst into applause. Vivian raised her glass and wished for an honest future. For 2 days, she became famous. Videos spread across the internet. People praised her strength. Memes mocked Preston. She sat at home with her feet up and felt peace for the first time in years. Then the story turned. Tiffany posted a video from jail. She cried and claimed she was misled. She said Vivian ruined her life. She said Vivian used people like pieces in a game. The internet began to question Vivian's motives. Some called her a bully. Some said she could have left quietly. Some asked what kind of mother used pregnancy in a public scene. Vivian read the comments in silence. Doubt crept in. Ruth took the phone from her hands. Gloria called and said strangers do not define truth. When you fight a monster, people cheer. When they question how you fought, do not apologize for surviving. Then came a serious threat. Preston's new lawyer filed emergency motions. He claimed entrapment. He claimed Vivian funded the crimes to trap him. He even filed for custody of the unborn baby. He said Vivian was unstable. Vivian felt fear deeper than any before. Not for her image, for her child. Benedict assured her they would fight. Vivian spent days in darkness. She sat in the nursery. She prepared quietly. She blamed herself. Ruth found her there and refused to let her surrender. Vivian called the full team. The truth came forward. She had been cooperating with federal investigators for many months. She was building a case legally. She was not trapping him illegally. For custody, they needed character witnesses. Vivian chose Gloria. In court, Preston appeared through video. His lawyer argued that hiding identity meant psychological manipulation. He tried to paint Vivian as unfit. Gloria took the stand. She spoke with steady strength. She explained Vivian's past betrayals. She explained that hiding wealth was self-protection. She described 5 years of cruelty. The courtroom listened in silence. The judge denied Preston's custody request. The countersuit was dismissed. The entrapment claim failed. Vivian hugged Ruth outside the court. Gloria asked for lunch. That night, Vivian slept deeply. But at 3 in the morning, she woke to a sound. A door closing softly. Footsteps downstairs. She reached for her phone. The line was dead. She texted Ruth quietly to call the police. She heard Preston's voice in the house. He had broken in. He tried to enter the locked room. Then he walked upstairs. He appeared in the bedroom doorway wild and angry. He accused her of watching him like an animal in a maze. He blamed her for his crimes. He said she made him a monster. Vivian told him to leave. He stepped closer. She felt her daughter kick hard. Then Gloria's voice came from the hallway. Gloria stood there in a robe, holding a heavy skillet. She said she survived many hardships and was not afraid of him. Ruth stood behind her speaking to emergency services. Sirens approached. Police entered and arrested Preston again for violating bail. As they led him away, he threatened her. The door closed. Vivian shook with fear. She asked Gloria if she created the monster. Gloria answered firmly. A woman does not create cruelty. Cruelty waits until it feels safe to show itself. Safety is not negotiable. Months later, Vivian gave birth to a healthy baby girl in Ohio. She named her Eleanor Ruth Carter Sinclair. Gloria and Ruth were by her side. Even Benedict watched through a video call. The weeks after were quiet and healing. Vivian stayed at Gloria's house. The air smelled like fresh grass. Her daughter slept peacefully. Preston was sentenced to years in prison. Tiffany received a lighter sentence. Vivian created a trust fund for Tiffany's son quietly. The child was not to blame. Public opinion slowly shifted again as deeper truths came out. But true healing did not come from headlines. It came from sitting on a porch with people who loved her. Months later, Vivian stood in a simple community center. She founded a support program for women leaving abusive lives. There were no chandeliers, just plastic chairs and real stories. She told them she stayed too long because she did not believe she deserved better. She admitted that leaving was the hardest step. The foundation offered legal help, housing, job training, and childcare. It made sure leaving did not mean falling into nothing. Women applauded, not politely but powerfully. Vivian stepped down and held her daughter. Gloria smiled with fierce pride. Ruth stood beside her. Vivian walked into the sunlight carrying her child. She was not a victim. She was not a villain. She was not just a billionaire. She was a woman who finally believed she deserved better. And she was right. After the night Preston broke into the house, everything changed. The illusion was gone. The fear was real, but so was the clarity. Vivian did not pretend anymore. She increased security at the house. She moved legal steps forward. She stopped reading comments online. Her focus became simple. Protect the baby. Protect her peace. Preston tried to send letters from jail. Some were angry. Some were full of false regret. Some blamed her. Some begged her. Vivian did not answer. Silence was no longer weakness. Silence was a boundary. The federal case moved quickly. Evidence was heavy and detailed. Financial records, forged signatures, embezzled funds, witness statements, digital trails. There was no room left for denial. In court, Preston tried one last time to paint himself as misunderstood. He said he only wanted success. He said pressure changed him. He said Vivian humiliation destroyed his mind. But the facts did not bend. The judge spoke firmly. Fraud, theft, forgery, bail violation, years in prison. When the sentence was read, Preston's shoulders dropped. For the first time, he looked small. Not powerful, not charming, just small. Vivian felt no joy in that moment. She felt relief. Justice is not fireworks. Justice is a deep breath after years of holding it. Tiffany's story ended differently. She claimed she believed Preston lies. She said she thought he was separated. She accepted a deal and avoided prison time. She returned to her parents' home quietly. Vivian surprised everyone. She set up a private fund for Tiffany's child. Not for Tiffany, for the baby. Because children do not choose chaos. They are born into it. And Vivian knew what it meant to grow up after loss. The media tried to contact her for interviews. She refused most of them. She agreed to one long conversation with a serious journalist. No drama, no shouting, just truth. The article that followed was different. It did not call her a queen. It did not call her a villain. It described patterns of emotional abuse, isolation, gaslighting, financial control. It described how success can hide cruelty. It described how wealth does not protect a woman from doubt. The public tone softened. Not everyone changed their mind, but enough people listened. Meanwhile, Vivian prepared for birth. She returned to Ohio to stay with Gloria. The house smelled like coffee and lemon cleaner. The porch creaked the same way it did when she was young. There was comfort in that sound. Ruth visited often. She brought practical things. Diapers, food, laughter. Gloria gave advice without apology. Eat more, rest more, stop overthinking, and keep the skillet close just in case. When labor began, it was long and intense. Vivian gripped Ruth's hand and focused on breathing. Gloria stayed near her head and spoke calm, steady words. You are stronger than pain. You are stronger than fear. Push. When Eleanor entered the world, she cried loud and clear. Vivian cried too. Tears not of sadness. Tears of release. She held her daughter against her chest and felt something new. Not power. Not revenge. Responsibility. And fierce love. Motherhood did not erase the past, but changed the future. The first weeks were quiet. Sleepless nights. Soft breathing. Small fingers curling around hers. Vivian watched her daughter sleep and understood something clearly. She would never allow that child to believe she was small. Never. Letters from Preston stopped after sentencing. Silence settled in. Real silence. The safe kind. Months later, Vivian made another decision. She would not hide her story, but she would not perform it either. She created the Sinclair Foundation. It was not about headlines. It was about practical help. Legal aid for women facing manipulation. Safe housing for mothers escaping control. Job training for financial independence. Counseling for rebuilding self-worth. A hotline answered by people who understood from experience. The opening event was simple. Plastic chairs. Bright lights that buzzed slightly. A handmade banner. Vivian stood on stage wearing a plain black dress. Her father watch ticked on her wrist. She did not wear diamonds. She did not need them. She told the women in the room that she stayed too long. She told them she doubted herself. She told them that money did not save her from believing cruel words. She told them that leaving was not about wealth. It was about belief. Belief that you deserve more. Belief that quiet does not mean weak. Belief that fear does not mean you cannot move forward. When she finished, the applause was not polite. It was loud and full and emotional. Women stood. Some cried. Some held each other. Vivian stepped down and picked up Eleanor. The baby grabbed her hair and laughed. The room laughed with her. Life did not become perfect. It became honest. Vivian learned that strength is not the moment you expose someone in public. Strength is the moment you choose peace afterward. She learned that revenge fades quickly. Healing takes longer. She learned that being quiet does not mean you have nothing to say. It sometimes means you are waiting for the right moment. Years later, people still mention the gala. They remember the blue gown. They remember the arrest. They remember the shock. But the part that mattered most was not the staircase. It was the porch in Ohio. It was the foundation office with worn carpets and hopeful voices. It was a grandmother rocking a baby gently. It was a friend who stayed. Vivian Sinclair built an empire twice. First with money, then with courage. She lost herself once inside love that was not real. Then she found herself again in truth. She was never just a billionaire. She was never just a housewife. She was never just a victim or a villain. She was a woman who believed the wrong voice for too long. Then one day, she believed her own. And that changed everything. If this story feels familiar to you, or to someone you know, remember this. Silence is not weakness. Patience is not foolishness. Hope is not stupidity. But staying where you're shrinking is not love. You do not need wealth to walk away. You need one clear decision. One moment where you say enough. The most powerful person in the room is not always the loudest. It is often the one who has been quiet for years and finally chooses herself. If you ever doubt your strength, remember Vivian. Not for the gala, not for the diamonds, but for the morning she woke up and decided to stop pretending. That is where real change begins.